People popping into the room. Oh, hey, we got the big clock going. That means that we are on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter now, simulcasting Ask a Traffic Cop. What is Ask a Traffic Cop? It's a show for you. It's for you. It's where I answer your traffic and police questions. Who am I? My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. And I'm that TikTok traffic cop, according to Jerry Agar from News Talk 1010. I'm the guy that's on TikTok and social media that's here to help. I want to be able to take some of the mystery out of the Highway Traffic Act. I want to make life easy for you. I don't want you getting tickets for not understanding things. Hey, if you decide to do things, if you break the law intentionally, well, then that's on you. But at least I want to explain things so you make educated decisions. Yes. It's all about making decisions, knowing what the deal is. I understand it's confusing. HTA isn't for everybody. I happen to have a thing about it. I like it. It's interesting to me. We are simulcasting. Yes, we are currently on TikTok. That is the biggest platform for us. We have almost 600,000 followers. We've been going for a couple of years now, and this is awesome. So if you don't already follow us, please do. Use the Q&A functionality to ask questions, and we will answer them here. Now, we're also using Instagram Live. You can ask us questions on the Q&A, and of course, we have friends that are coming in from all the other platforms, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll talk about Twitter in a second. First, any of the others other than Twitter, you can ask us questions by dropping them in the comments. Like I see messages from Jacob, who says, good morning. Chase says, Sergeant Campbell today? Well, I don't know if Sergeant Campbell's available, but we'll certainly send him a message. James Liu says hello. He's watching on LinkedIn. And we will see what we can do about getting a friend to sit with us. But we did have a fatality, the first fatality of a traffic fatality, I should say, of 2023. So the media is very interested in what's going on there. So we have lots of people calling in, and Sergeant Campbell and Sergeant Kulik are both media relations officers as well, so they are responding to calls and questions. Before we get into other stuff, January 5th, Vision Zero enforcement update. Where are they today? Well, they are in 14 Division and 43 Division. I see. I made a mistake on the Twitter. There's anyway. The tag didn't work because I didn't put a space between the @ sign. Well, that was my mistake. Where's 14 Division? Because it doesn't mean anything to everybody. It means something to some, but not to everyone. So where is that? Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy. Then there's 43 Division, which is Bendel, Woburn, Highland Creek, West Hill, and Guildwood. Those are the neighborhoods with real people who deserve to be safe. Yes, they deserve to be safe in their neighborhoods. And that means if you're traveling through them, whether you live there or not, you should be following the rules. What are the rules? What are the things that we're focused on in those areas? Vision Zero enforcement team is looking for the big four. Those are people who are choosing to drive in excess of the speed limit, the people who are speeding, the people who are driving aggressively or distracted, and of course impaired. Those are the big four. Those are what we focus on. That doesn't mean we will ignore other things. We'll write tickets for any offense that we find, but our focus on the ones that lead to serious injury and death. Hey, Vision Zero acknowledges that minor collisions are going to happen, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death are unacceptable and totally preventable. And that is my Vision Zero spiel. Let's see here. Oh, Josh Tao wants to know about DUI on a bicycle. We will talk about that in a moment. We were talking about it yesterday. Good morning to my wife. Leo wife is watching by way of YouTube. So good morning to you. And let's discuss. What are we going to start with? Do we start with the whole DUI on a bicycle? Maybe there's requests for you to be on the show today. Are you available, Sergeant Campbell?
Requests for me?
Yeah, specifically people saying, please. They're tired of me is what it is. They're tired of me. They want Sergeant Campbell.
Give me a little bit.
Sure.
They may join in a bit.
Okay, I will let everybody know. The Sarge says he will try and join us in a little bit. So see what happens? It's like Kismet. He was walking by, so he hit him up for the invite. Okay, back to the question of DUI on a bicycle. There was a lawyer from I think she's from BC. She did a video discussing DUI on a bicycle, and lots of questions about this. And we've talked about it a great deal on the show before. You have to be on a motor vehicle or a conveyance. And what's interesting is a canoe is a conveyance, and there was recently case law based on a conviction where someone was convicted for impaired operation of a conveyance in a canoe where someone died. So we were speculating to see if it would affect or be on a bicycle, if it would be included on a bicycle. So regardless of that case, if you're on an e-bike, which is under the Criminal Code of Canada, a motor vehicle, then absolutely you can get a DUI. Golf cart, e-bike, what are those things called? Power wheels, anything other than muscular power is a motor vehicle. But bicycle was not something covered. And we thought maybe it'll be interesting to see what happens. But some great discussion with YYZ, Traffic PC, and Sergeant Campbell. And it doesn't look like you can. Now, in BC, there's a specific provincial, according to this lawyer, provincial law that basically treats impaired operation on a bicycle the same way it would in a motor vehicle. But that's a provincial law, and I'm not familiar with that. It's a BC thing. In Ontario, we don't have that. So it doesn't appear that you can be charged with impaired operation on a bicycle in Ontario. Well, in Canada in general, unless there's other provisions, special stuff that doesn't really apply. It's not criminal code. All right, moving along, but thanks for Josh for bringing that up. Now we have Chase who says hello, and he has a Volley. What is a Volley? Volley is a community page that we have. It's on a platform called Volley. You can get to it by going to trafficcop.ca, and that is a place that you can send me video, voice, or text. And let's go see what this is. So we'll go to Volley, and I can actually play your audio for everyone to hear. Please play this clip for the show. Okay, we're going to play this clip for the show. It is, here we go.
So you cannot be charged with a criminal offense for riding a bicycle. It's not a criminal offense, and it's certainly not a DUI. And so you have to take a look at what constitutes a conveyance. And the criminal code has 4 definitions of a conveyance: a motorized vehicle, a vessel, aircraft, and a railway equipment. And where it steals the definition of a vessel is from the Canada Shipping Act, which is also a federal legislation. And vessel in the Canada Shipping Act includes a canoe.
So we basically just covered that, but very cool, and thanks for posting that up to the group. Great group with a great group of people. We got 132 people in there right now. You can join by going to trafficcop.ca and clicking the link that says Ask Me a Question on Volley. It'll take you to the group, and you can then participate in all our discussions. Let's move on to Q&A because there's lots of it today. Mike says, how is it fair that you can ticket me for stunt driving? Well, Mike, if you're stunt driving, that's how that works. You break the law. It's fair that I ticket you. I think you meant to say more things, but there's a number of characters, and you've exceeded them, so I'm assuming there's more to it. Oh, there is on my own property. See, there is a continuation. So how is it fair that we ticket you for stunt driving on your own property? Well, the law was changed to include all private property. So your personal private property is private property and covered by the HTA. So laws like dangerous driving, which is under the Criminal Code of Canada, covers all property. Just like impaired driving, you can be charged anywhere for stunt driving in Ontario specifically, whereas the Criminal Code covers you for everywhere across Canada. Why? Well, because people were doing things on private property. Now, if you want to do what is covered as a stunt driving offense on private property, like traveling over a certain speed or doing burnouts and things, yeah, listen, no problem. You got to have a properly licensed track. It has to be a racetrack and a go-kart track, because those two things are exempt under the law. There's a specific provision for them. So if you get a properly approved racetrack on your property, you're good to go. If not, you are under the umbrella of stunt driving under the HTA, and you can be charged. Let's see here. Justin wants to know if a horse is a conveyance eligible for DUI, and the answer, actually, according to the lawyer, was that it was not. You know, horses walk and do their own thing. They're not considered a conveyance, according to that lawyer, and I support that. Drunk horseback riding. Okay. Can we report tow trucks for unsafe driving? Absolutely, you can. You can go to www.tps.ca. There's an online form. It is something under the core Citizen Online Report Entry Tool, and you can make reports there if it occurred in Toronto. If it's somewhere else, then you can call the local police agency and division for the jurisdiction that you're in that you want to report that activity. But absolutely, anyone breaking the rules, you can report. Is it legal to drive 90 kilometers an hour in the left lane? Depends where you're driving. That could be speeding, or that could be going too slow, or it could be doing the speed limit. On the Don Valley Parkway or in the FGX, that is the speed limit on all lanes of the highway. So it wouldn't be against the law there. If you're doing 10 under in the left lane of the 401, well, the OPP will tell you that they don't want you doing that, and that they have signage to say pull over to the right because you could be impeding traffic. If it's bad weather, though, that may be the flow of traffic for everyone. So it really depends. Simply doing a speed in a particular lane that is at or below the speed limit isn't an offense unless other factors come into play. But most of the people who are complaining about people doing a speed that is not speeding in the left lane are people who want to speed, which is against the law. And that's another story. Someone says, what if the horse was drunk? Well, then I guess you arrest the horse. How many horses have a drinking problem? Ryan Pinn popping in on YouTube with a good morning. Ryan Pinn is a driving instructor out there. I believe he's young drivers in Nova Scotia. Okay. One user says, I want to become a crime scene investigator. Well, crime scene investigator, I think you mean like someone who is coming to it from ident or scenes of crime processing. You know, as a police officer, we have police officers who do that. And to become a investigator for us, you would become a police officer first. There are some civilian roles, but not the same. But we are hiring. www.tps.ca/careers is the place to go to get information about becoming a police officer, member of the service, civilian job, uniform job, all the jobs. They're all posted there. So if you want to work for the greatest employer ever, you should check it out. What is this? Can I report a road that is used for speed racing? Yes, you can. You can provide information to Crime Stoppers at 222-TIPS. You can do it by Twitter, online. I believe they take all sorts of reports, means of taking reports anonymously, or you can call police and let people know, let us know what's going on, or whatever police service is the jurisdiction of the report you want to make. What is the highest tint level that you can run? Tint. For safety inspection purposes, in order to have to be legally on the road, you can have no more than 30% light blockage. That means 70% of the light must get through, and that is, or for the windows left and right of the eligible. I was reading a chat thing. Stop. No, keep doing it. Stop making it so interesting. I wanted to read what he said. So level of tint. 30% light blockage, 70% of the light has to go through. That's for the windows left and right of the driver. And for the windshield, nothing is permitted. For the windows in the back, you can go as dark as you like. You can even paint them solid black. In other words, being opaque and no light coming through at all. Now, there is a caveat to that statement. That's to get a license plate, to be able to have a safety certificate and be licensed for the road. But there is an additional charge, and it's called obscuring the interior of a motor vehicle with color or reflective tint, which says you can't prevent me or the public, me as the police or the public in general, from seeing inside the driver cabin. So if I can't identify the driver, if I can't see in, it's obscured. You can get a ticket. It's $110, and that is one charge. If your vehicle fails the other charge, we can take your vehicle out of service by way of removing your license plates, and then you'll be charged for unsafe motor vehicle. Are tow trucks emergency vehicles? No, they are not. They don't get to respond. They do respond or attend collision scenes, but they have no privileges as an emergency vehicle other than the slow down, move over, which says that if there is a tow truck or emergency vehicle on the road working with its lights on, you need to slow down and move over and give it space and pass it safely. Why? Because they're working on the road and they're part of the team. But they don't get the lights and sirens go through a traffic situation. What speed will you pull someone over for? I pull people over for speeding. So if they're going over the speed limit, they might get pulled over at 5 for a warning. They might get pulled over at 10, or actually it depends on the speed limit. If you're doing 10 over and a 30, you're getting a ticket. If you're doing 10 over on a highway, you might not. It really depends on the situation. So I can't give you a flat number, but 10 over in a 30 zone, for sure you're getting a ticket from me. 15 over in a 60 zone, you're for sure getting a ticket from me. So don't speed is the answer. For sure getting a ticket. I give tickets. Are there any charges for having magnetic antennas or light bars attached to your roof? Is that insecure load potentially? You know what? If there's a wire, so with the magnetic antenna, so you still have a means of attachment. I'd have to look at it. Insecure load is pretty vague. It could be anything, and it's going to be based on the interpretation of the officer. So Chase, that was a question from Chase. At what age can a child no longer be in a booster seat? So that's a more complicated question. See, if we're saying when they no longer permitted to be, that depends on. It depends on if they're bigger than what the seat provisions allow. So if the instruction manual, if the manufacturer guide says no one over 50 pounds, well, that's a problem if they're 60 pounds for that particular seat. When do they require a booster seat? When must they get out of it? Again, they are not allowed. They must be in a booster seat. Well, let's back it up. There's infant seats, there's toddler seats, and then there's that booster last phase. That's what we're focused on today in this question. If the child is 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9", they no longer required a child safety restraint by law. Like, they don't have to have it. It might be safer. My kids can stay in the booster seats that I bought for them until they're 110 pounds. There's no rush, as long as they're within that. If you give them a booster seat that's intended for a smaller child that's only rated to a certain weight, that might mean you need to buy a new one, but you don't necessarily, you may not be able to put them on the seat without. So again, 8 years old, 80 pounds, 4'9", the least clear answer I've given on this in a while. So maybe we revisit it and I do a take two. Can I wait to pull over until I feel safe? No, the law says you must pull over immediately to the nearest curb or edge of roadway when police, fire, and ambulance are behind you with their lights on. So that's the deal. Brad, jumping in from YouTube, says, good morning. I'm a police officer in the province of Ontario and love your show. Could you go over the mandatory alcohol screening for the viewers? Great idea. We'll do that in just 1 second for Brad and for everybody. Okay. Need lots of water, apparently. Well, let's do that now. We'll clear the screen. Mandatory alcohol screening. Many people, if you're driving, know that we can pull someone over and have been able to pull someone over for the longest time, and on the suspicion of blood or alcohol being in your blood, based on suspicion, make a demand for a roadside screening device. So if there's odor of an alcoholic beverage, if there's an admission of consumption, reasonable suspicion that you have alcohol in your blood, we would do a test. Make a demand, you blow into the box, you either pass, get a warrant range suspension, or you fail and you get arrested. That was before, but in 2018, the law was changed. It was changed, obviously, across Canada because it falls under the criminal code. And what it provides is something called mandatory alcohol screening, something that's been employed by other countries for years and years. Australia does this and has been doing it forever. What's the story? It means that without the requirement of suspicion, we can have provide or make a demand for a screening test to see if there's alcohol in your blood. All we need is to ensure that you are the person driving. This is evidence of you driving, and a lawful stop. So if I pull you over for speeding, nothing else required, and I can say, I'm making a demand for a mandatory alcohol screening test. At which point you're required to provide a air sample. You blow into the straw. The machine says whether you're driving home, not driving home, or going to be arrested. I think that's the easiest, lightest example. So what does it mean? Do you have to do it? Yes, it's mandatory. If you refuse to provide a sample upon demand, you will be charged for refuse breath sample. What happens? Well, it's the same as if you were arrested and failed and were arrested. Regardless, it's the same consequences if you failed your test. So that's the over 80 consequences are the same for you. You're going to lose your license roadside, you're going to be charged criminally, and you're going to have to go to court. So don't refuse, just do the test. Very often, it's going to be very quick, and you're going to be on your way. And that's it. The goal is to rule out and rule out those who are not impaired and find all those who are. Brad follows up and says, I found the general public hasn't been informed of its goals and what it allows police to do. There's a lot of confusion about everything. You know what there's a lot of confusion of? There is confusion in regards to right turns on red lights. People seem to think that they can make a right turn on a red light without stopping, and they can't. You have to come to a stop first and then make a right turn. Yet I see people all day long making right turns on reds without stopping, which is running a red light, and they must not think that that's a requirement. They must not know, which I question, how are they then driving? But that's another story. Someone in the chat said, Timmy's or Krispy Kreme? Well, although I'm not eating either right now, Krispy Kreme raspberry filled would be my go-to donut. If I was in a donut eating mood, that would be my number one choice given the options. My favorite. I do like Tim Hortons donuts. And in fact, people say, well, do cops really like donuts? I'm like, come on. Does anyone not like donuts? I mean, ever? Has that ever been said? Good morning from Safe Driver. Safe Driver's in the house. Safe Driver is he was a master driving instructor. I imagine he's still a driving instructor, but I don't think he's actively instructing drivers or he's doing lots of things. He's a blogger, he's a YouTuber, he's a TikToker, he's a podcaster. He's a man of many talents. But good morning to you. And another Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. If you're new to the show, if you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. We do it Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. Sometimes we go a little earlier because we join up with Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010 to do some radio stuff. And that's a thing that we do. It's a good thing. We like it. It's a way for us to reach out and become involved. So if you don't already follow us, please hit that follow, subscribe, depending on the platform. If you want to invite other people, if you think that we should share what we're doing with more people, please help us do that. Bring your friends and family. Let's see which microphone we're using here. We got a. I think that's the one. Sergeant Campbell joining us to continue along with Ask a Traffic Cop. Sergeant Campbell is a media relations officer, and he's also the towing and pound sergeant. And he is a man of many talents, too. Also someone who is very familiar with off-road stuff, which is something I am not.
Good morning, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I cannot complain.
And you know what? There's, you say I'm very familiar with off-road stuff, which I am because I'm an active participant in it. I don't do an awful lot of enforcement on it. So a lot of the stuff I'll have to look up, but a lot of the stuff, because I do it, I wanted to know it. So I made that information available to myself so that I can, stay within the boundaries of the law.
I like it. We were talking before you got here, discussing. The question came up: is a horse conveyance eligible for a DUI charge?
A horse.
A horse is a horse, of course. What is it? I don't remember. I can't remember that. But it was my belief that it is not.
I would have to agree with you. There are occasions where the horse is mentioned in the Highway Traffic Act, and you can have offenses while operating or riding a horse. But I don't believe, because under our criminal code, originally it was motor vehicle, and then it became conveyance. We had a discussion this morning on that as well about the conviction for somebody that was operating a canoe.
Yes.
While impaired, and the conviction stood. So, you know what? It's we have to let the courts decide what is reasonable and what the law means. We interpret it a little ways. Somebody may interpret it somewhere different. So.
Yes, the courts have a mind of their own. Many minds, in fact. We talked briefly about DUI on bicycle and things of that nature. And Chase brought it up. Sorry, actually, it wasn't Chase. It was Josh. Josh brought it up. And it's all about this, I think, based on this TikTok video from a lawyer in BC. But it was some good discussion. Jace, who may still be in Saskatchewan, but maybe in BC, and I can never remember which one he's at, because he's moving. He may have already moved. He says, if you tell a horse to jump over a cliff, it probably won't. A bike won't stop you from riding over a cliff.
Very true.
Oh, I've got an anonymous caller, but I'm not answering. Okay. Chase has a question. Actually, he's got a volley. Here's his volley.
Would dangerous operation apply if no one's around you on the road, but you have a passenger in the car who's okay with what you're doing, but you're still speeding and kind of being dangerous? Is that dangerous operation, or do they have to be like the public?
You know what? Dangerous operation would, in fact, apply to the person who's a member of the public who's in the passenger seat of your car. They are a member of the public. Whether they have made good decisions or bad decisions, they are at risk based on the driver's choice of driving style.
Yeah, and there are certain things you consent to. You can consent to an assault, for example, but you can't consent to bodily harm. So he may approve of the way you're driving, but if something was to happen because you're driving so dangerously that they got hurt, that you can't approve to that, or can't consent to that.
Yeah. And then there's other factors as well. But yes, they definitely, it would still qualify as dangerous driving. Now, if no one's around, it's hard to see you doing it. But if you're being observed and police take action, then that's certainly an available charge.
And if you actually do crash with nobody around and somebody gets hurt, even if somebody doesn't get hurt, we're probably going to find out about it because somebody will
Well, there's that, and there's this magical box inside your car. The amount of data that's collected by it is fantastic. We can see the speeds usually in major collisions, and you know what? If you were doing Mach 5 in your car when you hit something, you're still going to get charged if you survive.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of data that's stored in modern vehicles nowadays.
It's computers.
Yep. Everything from, occupants and seats to seatbelt use to amount of braking, amount of G-force, acceleration, deceleration. Can't get it out of my mouth this morning. Lateral G's, everything is recorded.
We got a totally different topic. We got a question about no. That's what we got a question about. Loud music. That's my dance music, DJ horn. Can you get pulled over for your music being too loud? Yeah, you can. You are not allowed to create unnecessary noise. Unnecessary noise is a charge under the HTA. So whether you're, revving your engine, you have a modified muffler, you have a malfunctioning muffler, your stereo or your horn is making noise. Those are all things that can not only cause you to be pulled over, you can be charged.
Yep. There are times when you need to make noise. A horn, a sound signaling device, is necessary at some time to keep people safe.
It's reasonable.
Unnecessary use of it, unreasonable use of it, is not.
Yeah. So honking the tune to the beat of your favorite tune, not okay. Honking to say don't hit that kid in the like. There's reasons to use a horn. If you're misusing it, that's a problem. What age can a kid sit in the front seat? Technically, any age. Now, they may require a car seat or safety restraint to make it legal, and it may not be. I tell you, it's not advisable to be in the front seat. We say back seat to 14 years old for ideal situations, but there are convertible vehicles, or I should say two-seater vehicles. There's no other option.
Yep.
So it's not illegal. It's just not advisable. So going back to a question we spoke about a few minutes ago, you can You can be out of a child seat at 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9". Any one of those three meets the legal requirement, but we still say back seat to 14. Not against the law to be in the front seat, but air horns. Isn't air horns the next message? Airbags come out at like 200 miles per hour. They can seriously hurt someone who's small. And that's the reason we want people far away. And crumple zones, other things. Backseat better. Are train horns legal? On trains, they absolutely are. Actually, I don't think they're illegal in cars. I just think that they can be misused.
Absolutely. And is the amount of noise that comes out of it reasonable to affect the purpose? If you want to signal somebody, then is a train horn reasonable use of it? So it could be unnecessary.
It could be. I've seen a motorcycle. I have air horns on my motorcycle, and they're air horns. They're not train horns. There's like about 10 feet of pipe, I think, difference in size. But I did see a motorcycle that had a railway horn, and one saddlebag had been converted to a tank, and it needed to really run that tank to fill it to operate the horn. So this is not a reasonable thing. It's very cool, but it was not reasonable.
Certainly would get your attention. That's for sure.
You felt it when he hit that horn. You felt it. Yes. Do private parking tickets non-city matter? Depends what you mean matter. If you want your credit history and your credit rating to be affected when they take you to collections for not paying it might matter. If you want to get towed next time you're in that property lot, might matter. If you want to graduate from the local university that you're attending, because they can hold that over your head. If they're the ones issuing the ticket, they may not give you your graduation your certificate unless you actually pay your fines. So it depends. They all matter, but some affect your driver's license and some affect other things.
A city or a municipal issued ticket definitely does. And it could stop you from renewing your driver's license, renewing your license plate on the car, things like that. So the best thing, don't park illegally.
That is the best thing. Don't break the law in general, whether it be parking offenses, spending time on private property, breaking the HTA, criminal codes. All these things only come into play if you actually break them. We don't much pay attention to people who follow the rules. Okay. Why do speed camera tickets not affect your insurance? I'll tell you that in 1 second. Well, actually, probably 5 seconds, because I want to remind everybody that my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. It actually says it behind me if you can see past me on YouTube or any of the platforms that we're streaming. This is Ask a Traffic Cop. It's a show that we do on social media to give you the opportunity to ask people like us, traffic cops, for answers to the questions that have been bugging them for centuries. They want to know stuff, and we know stuff, and we share that stuff with you. At no charge, I might add. But not only is there no charge, but there are dad jokes, and those are free additions.
I did see that you might have gotten a gift of something.
I received a gift. It was a calendar from my wife, so I have an additional. Dad joke a day. We didn't go live yesterday, so we have 2 dad jokes today from this calendar.
That's funny. You thought of dad jokes and looked directly at me.
Well, you're the partner in the dad joke game. So yesterday we didn't go live because we had a funeral for our fallen hero, and so we saved that joke for today. Wasn't appropriate yesterday. So the January 4th dad joke is, what did the snowman say to the snow woman he was trying to woo? I only have ice for you. That's not as good as the first 2 of the year. Okay, and today being January 5th, it's the Thursday one. I hope I'm reading these without vetting them, so I don't. When I was in quarantine, it was hard to be funny. I could only make inside jokes.
All right.
These 2, the first 3 were actually really good. The 4th and 5th, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Okay, why do speed camera tickets not affect your insurance? Because you need to know who the driver is in order to lay a charge that affects the driver. The owner is responsible in Ontario based on a different charge under the Act that allows us to charge the owner who's responsible, but we can't give them points because it could be anybody in that vehicle. Now, if you go to Australia and get a speed camera ticket, they charge the driver and they apply points to the driver because guess what? The driver knows who was driving the car, and if it wasn't them, they can swear an affidavit, I guess, to say somebody else was, and then that person's on the hook. But no points for the driver. So it's always better to have a police officer write you a ticket, at least if we're trying to control traffic. Okay. Let's see here. Akela Dracona says, greetings and salutations. And Josh Tao says, Sean, Equifax has said publicly that they don't hold private parking tickets against your credit. Interesting. I'm not aware of that. I imagine that is good for those who want to get parking tickets and not pay for them. I wouldn't risk it. But Equifax is a company, one of 2 or 3 companies that track credit ratings or that establish credit ratings based on reporting. So that's a good way. If you don't know what your credit rating is and you're concerned, I know I actually subscribe to a service. It'll alert me if people try and create accounts in my name, if there's changes in my credit score, things you gotta know. Equifax does that, and you can go to get that information free from their website. Actually, I think you have to write in for the free version, but you can pay for a subscription anyway. Good things to know. Equifax, for those who didn't know. Why don't cops like modified or lifted trucks? Well, we might like the way they look, but they're unsafe. There are maximums and minimums for height on the vehicle in order to be legal on the road. And if you don't comply with them, you can't be on the road. So there's a maximum 3-inch kit or lift that's permissible for the road. There's a minimum distance or lowering. You're not supposed to go more, I think 1.5 inches down. But we don't know that. We look at other safety things. Are your tires covered? Are your wheels exposed? Is there any body rub or frame rub when your vehicle is turning lock to lock? And it's just about safety. It's not whether we like or don't like. It's about safety. Are the RCMP allowed to do stops without cause? I don't know where you are in Canada, but I can tell you that in Ontario, I can stop a vehicle to check if the driver is licensed, to check if the vehicle is insured, to check on the sobriety of the driver, to check on the fitness of the vehicle. So I don't need any cause beyond wanting to do one of those 4 things. Now, if you happen to have committed an offense on the road, that's an additional thing. Can I teach my 15-year-old in an empty parking lot? A question many people ask, and the answer is we cannot charge you for driving without a license on private property. We can charge you for stunt driving on private property, but we can't charge you for driving without a license. The charge just doesn't apply on private property. So can you do it? Yeah, I guess you can. Should you do it? Not a good idea. The reason being is if there's a collision, the unlicensed driver means you have no insurance coverage. It's just you have a recipe for disaster. Did I do it when I was 15? I'm not going to admit, yeah, I did. A friend of mine taught me how to drive in a parking lot. I did. I was fortunate not to have any problems. But, if you're not so lucky, that is an issue. MC says, hello, sir. Hello, MC. Is 5% illegal in Canada? I should read the rest of the question. Is 5% tint illegal in Canada? Every province has its own rules. The tint itself may not be illegal. Where you put it could be illegal. You can't have tint, any tint on the front windshield. That being said, you can have 3 inches of tint across the top for vehicles manufactured before 2017. That's called a tint strip, a sun strip, a brow. Those are permitted, but nothing in the viewing area of the window. The windows left and right of the driver, they can have no more than 30% light blockage, meaning 70% of the light has to come through. And 5% tint, if it only was blocking 5%, would be perfectly legal. But most often people are saying 5% because it stops 95% of the light coming through. And that would not only be illegal, it would be unsafe. And that would be a situation where plates would be removed, your vehicle would be likely towed home because you would be charged for driving an unsafe vehicle.
Absolutely, Sean.
Unless it was in the back seat.
Unless it was the back seat or the back window.
Yes. Tinting your back seat is not very popular. Would you like a water?
That'd be awesome. You know what? I do have a little bit of the lingering cough that will not go away, and it's been weeks.
It's annoying for you, but we just see you run away once in a while. Well, no one hears running away. MC says, if speeding is so dangerous, why do most people do it and never end up in a fatal collision? I have been driving a long time, and I think I have enough skill to go 20 over without harm. That is an interesting bucket of questions right there. It's unsafe, and statistically, you are at higher risk of becoming involved in a collision. Whether you have become part of that statistic or not, you are still in higher risk. Now, when you get involved in a collision at that higher speed, you have greater damage because that's how science works. More
Inertia.
Inertia means more crunchy crunch when you make a smacky smack. And at the end of the day, you have a much higher chance of killing a pedestrian or other party when you collide with them. Well, for sure with pedestrians. That's why we're in the process of reducing speeds across our city.
And you know what? There's an awful lot of people that have that same belief. There's an awful lot of people that crash as well, who honestly believed they were, capable, skillful enough to operate. This morning when I was coming into work, it was really foggy. And you know what? I slowed down enough because the risk went way up. Even if it's clear, the risk is still there. And the risk may not be you. The risk could be the other drivers that are out there that all of a sudden you become involved in.
And it's just not worth it. There is no reason to go 20 over because in a city situation, you're probably going to change your destination time by a minute. Like really, I end up at the traffic light with the person who is speeding at every traffic light. They accelerate more, they burn more gas, they decelerate more heavily, they burn more brakes. And at the end of the day, we get to where we're going in roughly the same amount of time. It's absolutely silly to speed. Now, if you're on a racetrack and you're going a sustained speed, yeah, you're going to get to where you're going first because it's a race. If you're on a highway and you are without obstructions, without having reason to slow down, you would, over a course of 100 kilometers, at going 10 kilometers over, get there faster by that fraction. Exactly.
And really, if you're traveling 100 kilometers to get to a destination, what difference does it make by 1 minute or two?
Exactly. And what you can do is save some gas, save wear and tear on your vehicle, and for the extra minute you have in the vehicle, maybe just learn a new language in a podcast. It was a stop and smell the roses. Well, slow down and smell the passing fumes from other vehicles. Just don't speed. Chase says, Sergeant Campbell makes a good point. Oftentimes, your driving abilities aren't the problem. It's the inabilities of others around you. Yeah, and if you're going faster when that other person pulls into your path, then you have less reaction time. You have more inertia, so you're going to do more damage in the event of the collision. It's just a bad idea.
You know what? We learn really good driving skills here as police officers. We are allowed to go over the speed limit, but we don't just do it randomly, and we don't do it to extremes. You know what? We always have to keep an eye on speed differential. We always have to keep an eye on the risk to the public, the risk to ourselves, and we got to get to where we're going without crashing. And we've seen people do some pretty dumb things.
If we
out
don't
there.
get to where we're going, we're of no use to anybody.
Exactly.
So the aim of the game is guaranteed arrival, safe arrival. Don't cause any more collisions or injuries that would prevent us from getting to you to help you and causing emergency services to have to go to more places. Yeah. Okay. I think we've beaten that one all the way out. There's nothing else to talk about at the speed. But MC, if you got more to ask, by all means, we're happy to chat.
And I like your initials.
MC, well, we're motorcycle people.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Murray Campbell.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. XO Robin says, any thoughts on underglow and tint, and what's your opinion on tinted windows? Underglow and tint, okay. I don't have a problem with underglow on private property. I don't really have an underglow problem if it's installed correctly and not projecting light outward, if it's only reflecting off the ground. I don't really have a problem with it. Is it a necessary thing for safe operation? I think it's a distraction. I think it's probably better off not being used on the road. But I don't have this knee-jerk response that I have to stop that vehicle unless it's violating the rules. In terms of tint, as long as I can see in, I'm okay with it. If you have a blacked-out car that I cannot identify the driver, I'm going to stop you and charge you or take you off the road. I think it looks cool, though.
What, dark tint?
Dark tints look awesome. They're just not functional.
Right. And underglow? Do you think it looks cool?
I think it did in 1985. And I had decked out. I have a motorcycle. My motorcycle had accent lighting on. It wasn't underglow, didn't project out, but it just made my engine compartment glow blue, and I thought it was really cool. But I removed it because it wasn't cool anymore. It was cool for a period of time, and then it became less cool. I also grew up a lot, and now I don't even. I used to put stereo systems in my with box like speaker boxes and amps, and I don't anymore. Whatever comes factory is what it gets, and then I sell the car and I buy a new one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The good old days.
I don't get it. Going in and out of lanes without excessive speed. So weaving, or you know what? I don't think you're getting anywhere faster by weaving in and out of lanes or going in and out of lanes. Lane changes that make sense. And if you have to avoid obstructions or slow traffic, but and you say excessive speed, does that mean still speeding? Because excessive speed is any speed over the speed limit.
What if traffic has slowed well below the maximum speed allowed on a roadway, and you are dodging in and out of traffic, trying to get the 10 or 12 spaces in front? Would that be a marked departure from what the rest of the traffic is going?
Well,
Quite possibly.
It's a speed differential, and it is unsafe. So in that scenario, again, traffic's going slowly, and someone is going under the speed limit, but weaving through traffic. That definitely could be stunt, could be dangerous, could be any number of things because it's dangerous to do that.
Yeah, there is a charge of stunt driving for that. And you get your car impounded and your driver's license suspended. And what it is a marked departure from the regular flow of traffic. If you're the only one doing it, weaving in and out, there's a problem.
There is a problem. We have a question of, can someone answer my question? 120 on a 100 highway. Well, the first one was a question. The second one isn't a question, but I'm assuming you want to know if you're allowed to. And I can tell you that the speed limit is 100 in a 100 zone, and you can't do 120 legally, and people do get pulled over and charged for it. Again, there's no reason to go speeding. Can I get a ticket for license plate paint peeling off? That is a good question. Yes, you can.
Yeah, the license plates are actually owned by the ministry, but they make you pay for them. But your responsibility is to keep them on the car and completely unobstructed and completely visible at all times. Even if their equipment fails, you're the one who gets the ticket for it.
Yeah, and I just had a friend who I was on her podcast actually, and she came in and said, I have a plate that's peeling. I said, well, you got to get it changed. She says, I refuse. I don't want to pay. I said, go in and get it done for free, because if you are dealing with a defective plate, the ministry will replace it for free in most cases. Some cases they're so old or damaged that they're not covered. 7-year warranty, get them replaced under warranty. 7-year, 5-year, maybe it's a 5-year warranty.
Yeah, there's a certain plate series that were known to be defective. They peeled. One thing that I have heard that can accelerate it is automatic car wash soap.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. So
Don't wash your car and you'll be fine.
Well, it accelerated. It didn't stop it. So if any portion of it is peeled off and your plate is not completely readable, yep, you could be liable.
And also, if you have a license plate cover, whether it be tinted, whether it be clear, if it obscures by way of reflection, anything that changes the way that the legibility of that plate, it's an offense. So people say, well, how come a clear one? It's clear. You can clearly read it. Well, not necessarily, because some of them have bulges or bubbles that causes glare to make it unreadable. You, when you're standing in front of it, a foot away because you just screwed the plate on, it looks great to you. But for me as a police officer or an automated plate reader may have an issue with it.
You know what? I was in a retail store over the holiday period, and I specifically went over to the license plate covers because they're a big section, they're a big seller, and I had to read on every single one of the descriptions of this product. Every make, manufacturer has a disclaimer on there that says, check local laws, may not be legal for road use, may only be used for show or off-road use. So
It says it right there. And why isn't it illegal to sell that? Why are you allowed to sell it? Because people say, why don't we limit cars to 100 if no one should be going over 100? And why don't we make it illegal to sell plastic covers for license plates if they're illegal to use on the road?
Yep. You know what? It's the person who's doing the...
It's
the
choice.
issue.
You have choice.
Yeah.
We have, I have to repeat a little spiel where I remind people who I am and where we are and what we're doing, because I'm trying to get in the habit of saying that more, because we have so many people coming in and out of the live that it would just be unfair to just babble on forever. But I got a text from my buddy Andy. He says, I'm 59. We didn't have underglow in 1985 on our cars. Maybe it was 90s. Maybe it was the 90s when people lost their minds. And got
Yeah, I think it's when LEDs started to become popular.
Well, they were originally neon.
That's true.
So because I remember going to Dark Nights, which was an open air car show, so it has to be the 80s, maybe the late 80s. Do rear license plates have to be lit at night? My light bulbs that illuminate the rear plates burned out, and I'm not sure if they're worth replacing on my old car. That is a fantastic question, and I can assure you that they most definitely are required by law to illuminate your plate at minimum of 3 candela of power. You got to have it. It's the only white lights allowed on the rear of your vehicle. They must be there, and they must be white, because I would pull people over if they had anything but white. Now, the reminder that I was warning you about is that my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. I do it Monday to Friday from 10 to 11, unless we're meeting up with Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010. That's when we start a little early, so we don't take away the opportunity for you to get your questions answered, but we do get to be both on the radio and with you. We do that on a regular basis. Actually, I got to reach out to Jerry and find out. And Murray was talking to Murray. MC is Murray. Very cool. Big Jeff Fresh is late. Says, good day. I know I'm late, but I just glad that I could say hi. Well, we're glad you said hi too. All right, let's see here. If I hit someone away from a crosswalk, is it legal to pass a cop car on the road? Okay, those are two different questions from South Shore Danny. If I hit someone away from a crosswalk, question mark. You're not allowed to hit people with cars. That's not allowed. Santa Claus wants to know how long I've been a police officer. I have a strange story. It's a short story that spans over 22 years. I've been a member of the Toronto Police Service for 22 years. I joined as an auxiliary officer. I had so much fun volunteering my time that the same year I became a court officer, a special constable working in prisoner transportation and courthouse security. That's where I met Andy. I then became a supervisor in courts and a sergeant with the auxiliary police, and traded those two uniforms in for one and became a police officer over 10 years ago. So a police officer in particular, 10 years, 22 years in total service. What we got here? Are you more aerodynamic shaving my eyebrows? I've never shaved my eyebrows. I have faint eyebrows, I guess. But they're there, whether you see them or not. But maybe if I do shave my eyebrows, I could go faster. But I don't need to go faster because I go the speed limit. Is it illegal to go too over? Your thought about it. Is it illegal? Yes. Anything over the speed limit is illegal. Would you get stopped for it? Unlikely. But is it illegal? It's absolutely illegal. And Robin says that they've been pulled over for doing too over the limit. Maybe you're doing miles, because miles is almost 5 kilometers. 2 miles is almost 5 kilometers. So not that I'm doing actual math on that. Is it illegal to pass a cop on the road? It's not specifically illegal unless they're doing the speed limit or over it, because they're legally allowed to speed, and then you choose to pass them speeding, then it would be illegal because you're speeding, not because you passed them. Yeah. Are booster seats a legal requirement? Yes, if the child is over the size and weight for a toddler front-facing seat, then they can graduate to a booster seat, which is a requirement right up until the age of 8, or until they're 80 pounds, or until they're 4'9", because that's when you need it. So any one of those three, 8 years old, 80 pounds, 4'9", before they can get out. Is there a speed limit for mobility scooters? Well, yeah, they have to be actual mobility scooters, and you start modifying those to do other things, and they're not going to be mobility scooters anymore. If you're really talking about a medical device, then they were designed a certain way, and I imagine they have to conform. I don't know a specific speed limit. I can tell you, because I know about speed limits for e-kick scooters and speed limits for actual e-bikes. Those should be going nowhere near that for a mobility scooter. But I'm going to, Santa Claus, since you've asked, and I'll have to do a deeper dive to see if there's an actual speed limit that is regulated for them. Because now I don't know. 32 kilometers an hour, however, is the speed limit capable of, for an e-bike on a level flat level surface. It's double. It's a double. So if it's on a flat surface, 32 kilometers an hour is the maximum for an e-bike. 24 kilometers for an e-kick scooter, which are totally prohibited in Toronto, by the way. That's the deal for those. But I'm gonna have to look up the medical stuff. All right, moving on. Adding you to my list of books. Wait, pulling up my book so I can right now write it in so I don't forget. I still have one about electric vehicle noise, if it need a noisemaker. So this is a mobility scooter. We're going to do like a show. Mobility scooter, max speed. Okay, we're looking into it. What happens if someone gets caught with a G1? Oh, yes, is my favorite one. What are the maximum penalties? What are the charges that you're going to get? Well, first off, G1 driving unaccompanied, that's without someone sitting beside them that's a qualified G driver. That's someone who has 4 years of driving experience, the clock starting when you get your G2. If someone is driving without that qualified driver, they are charged for G1 drive unaccompanied. Simple, right? $110 fine comes with a 30-day suspension for the first conviction, 90-day for the second, and you're kicked out of the program on your third or subsequent. Now, what happens? You also get suspensions, by the way, for other things as a novice and a driver, G1, G2, regardless. Okay, back to what else happens. If you took the car without permission, expect criminal charges for take vehicle without consent. If you took the car with permission of the owner or qualified person, then there's a charge of, for the person who let you drive the car in contravention of your conditions. So there's that. If you get involved in a collision while you're driving with a G1, you're not a licensed driver. You're not insured. You are not allowed to be behind the wheel, so the insurance company will likely deny that claim. So your car is no longer paid for. So there's a bunch of different things that happen. And that's what happens. When you have a full license from Saskatoon, then you're G2. I don't know what you mean. So you're moving here with a full license, and they're not honoring your full license. They're only giving you a G2. That's interesting. But I don't really know what your question is. I mean, you're telling me you have to follow the G2 conditions. So you'd be a fully licensed driver, but you have a 0 blood alcohol content condition, and between the hours of 12 and 5 in your first 6 months and second 6 months, you have conditions as to how many people who are not part of your immediate family that can be passengers in your car. But those are the conditions for a G2. I need more water. Are you on the clock? An extra $50 million for this. Yes, I am on the clock. So, Sergeant Campbell. I'm a media relations officer. Yes, educating people on law is something that I do. Crazy, right? And before I did this, like before I went live for the 1 hour a day that I spend doing this, I was on the news with Global TV talking about a traffic fatality, the first of the year. A 59-year-old man was struck by a car, and then that car, or I should say Ford F-150, fled the scene, and we're looking for them. So is this something that is of value? Yeah, we're doing all sorts of things. We're communicating with the public. We're available for discussion. We answer questions. We're helping. It's one officer, sometimes two, sometimes even three, doing this all at the same time. And that hour, it's actually one of the most effective hours that we put into to our work, because we speak to the most number of people. On average, about 12,000 people a day that come into our lives, not to mention the millions of people who watch our videos. Additionally, we've had up to 40,000 people in a live. It's been amazing. This is by far the most effective way to communicate. And we're doing it because we're the leaders in the area. Yep. We're the largest police education account on TikTok, and we're making waves. And then we get to talk to people like you who want to know why we're doing what we're doing. Oh, and just to let you know, I also respond off duty. So I'm doing some of it as a volunteer and some of it not. Anyway, I do love those questions because I find the trolls who have a problem with police or have a problem with what we're doing here on social media to be just trolls. But when you give them the facts or even just opinions, they have nothing to stand on because they're just complaining. Okay, moving on. Can you drive without a license on private property? Santa wants to know. The reindeer, first of all, reindeer not required, the license required from my understanding. But the deal is with motor vehicles, yeah, if you are on private property, we can't lay the charge for drive no license. We can still charge you for stunt driving, but not drive without a license. What is the age for driving? What is the age for children sitting in the front? No age requirement. We do say 14 in the back seat till 14 years old because it's safest. But, yeah, safest back seat. And then let's see here. Niece is 80 pounds, but 4. Your niece is doing well on the growth spectrum. Need a booster? Technically or legally, no, because they meet the 80 pounds. But for safety, especially being only 4, yeah. I would keep them in a booster. I would keep them in a seat. I would definitely keep them in the back seat. Listen, they say rear-facing seats until 4 years old. So absolutely. And the car seats that I have for my kids, forward-facing seats with good support and a multi-harness, 5-point harness, and that is up until 110 pounds. So, Josh, that would be what I'd use for your niece. And even though it's legal, it's not something that's necessarily safe. Can I use a photo of my driver's license instead of my driver's? Oh, I just moved everything around. Ooh. No, you cannot. I mean, it's great to have, if you want information to provide to, to police in the event that you want to share that information. However, it's not meeting the legal requirements. You have to have your actual physical driver's license in Ontario. Now, if you are from another province that doesn't issue a driver's license or they have an electronic version, we would accept that. But for an Ontario driver who's issued a G1, G2, or G, or any class for that matter, they must present their actual photo card for inspection, a reasonable inspection of a police officer upon demand. Let's see here. Can I drink and bicycle as long as that bicycle is not electric or gas? It's a bicycle. Then no, that's not the DUI in Canada. I'm told, just based on a discussion of a video that was on TikTok yesterday from a lawyer in BC, she said that there are laws, there are provincial laws that do take impaired operation of a bicycle and create a charge out of it because it mirrors the impaired driving charges in some way, but it's not a criminal charge. That's a provincial act. What's this? Chase says, what's the next in-person event you'll be at for TPS? Just the Indy. I met Chase at the Indy. And I will be at the Indy because I plan to be at the Indy, but we haven't discussed the Indy. It's far, far away. I don't know. I don't think we have anything, penciled in yet for another in-person event. But I will be doing, and we'll try and do as many in-person events as we can. I like the opportunity to meet people in person. It's cool. We did a bunch of stuff at Centennial College. We'll try and do more of that. I've spoken at Humber College. So, they're happening. If you have an event that you think we should be attending, please let us know. But, and of course, we'll publicize any event that we're going to be doing. Come to Vancouver, Jace says. Awesome. No plans this year for Vancouver. They're generally local. Now, I was supposed to go to Saskatchewan this year. It didn't happen because, unfortunately, in September, one of our officers was murdered, and I wasn't traveling. That was a friend of mine. So that got canceled. And then I went to Ottawa for a week to speak to students there. So there's things that we're doing, and we're going to be speaking to students, and that'll probably grow this year. Let's see here. Liz says, it is illegal to closely pass a cop who has stopped at the side of the road for traffic and lights are on. Okay, what Liz is talking about. So earlier we were asked if it's illegal to pass a cop. passing a police officer isn't illegal in the normal course of driving. However, emergency vehicles and tow trucks that are stopped with their lights active triggers the slow down, move over law, which says you have to slow down and pass them safely. They're working. They're working to keep people safe. They're working, doing their job. They need to be safe, and you will be charged if you are not providing them that safety by slowing down and moving over. Thank you very much, for Liz, for bringing that up. We talked about drinking and bicycling. What do we talk here? Do you know if 6'4" Honda on YouTube? I don't know 6'4" Honda. But I will obviously have to check up 6'4" Honda. I'm 6'5". I don't fit in Hondas. So what is it? How does 6'4" do it? I do fit in Hondas if I squish. Why can't we have studded tires? Sorry, why can't we have tire studs in winter tire? In certain areas of Northern Ontario, you can. You cannot have them on the other ones because A, it's not required, and B, it damages the roads, and, well, we don't want to have to replace the roads. Hey, that went off. Okay. What is this? I heard electric bikes not allowed in Scarborough. Electric bikes are not prohibited. Electric scooters, e-kick scooters, are prohibited in the entire city of Toronto. I've never heard of anything prohibiting e-bikes. They're actually permitted by law. They can't be on sidewalks, but they can be on the road just as any bicycle could. Now, e-bikes that are not, if they're modified, if they go more than 32 kilometers an hour, if they have a motor bigger than 500 watts, those are illegal. They're motor vehicles. They require a license, ownership, and insurance, and they can't be on the road at all. What do we got here? 20 to 30 kilometers an hour under the speed limit is dangerous driving, ? Or are you suggesting, is it dangerous driving? No, it doesn't qualify for the charge of dangerous driving, which is criminal. It could be unnecessary slow driving, depending on the situation and the observations made by officers. But it depends. It depends. If I hit a jaywalker, am I liable? Could be. If they're simply jaywalking and you choose to drive into them, you are liable. If they jump out in front of you and you have no opportunity to stop, you may not be, but it depends on the investigation and what is seen, said, heard, recorded, and so on. It's not so simple. I can't just say you're allowed to hit jaywalkers, because you're not. You have to make every opportunity or attempt not to. And if you're driving properly, you won't. Did you have a great Christmas and New Year? I did. I had a fantastic time. Christmas and New Year's are always fun, and we have December birthdays in the house, so those are some of the best times of the year. What is this? Why can I see everyone driving 120 and a 100? Because they're breaking the law. Lots of people are breaking the law. They're breaking the law because I think enforcement is down. I don't think we're issuing anywhere near enough tickets for people who are breaking the law. 20 over is not acceptable. 30 over is absolutely not acceptable. 40 and 50 over. And we're catching people in all areas. So slow down. But we need to have people change their minds because they want to, because they accept that speeding is not only unlawful, but unsafe. So, that's why we talk about it so much. We want people to slow down because it's the right thing to do, and not wait to get a ticket to tell them it's the right thing to do. And very often they say, well, if everybody else is doing it, I should do it too. And then there's this myth that the flow of traffic exonerates you from the requirement of maintaining the speed limit. It doesn't. If everyone is doing 120 and you're doing 120 with them, you can still get a ticket for doing 120, even though everybody else is doing it. There's no defense. You are guilty of speeding. What is this? Can I ride a moped on the road? A moped is a vehicle that requires license, ownership, and insurance, and you require a motorcycle license. It is absolutely street legal if you are doing all of those things. And if you are not, it is not. And if you have a bicycle that you put a conversion kit on, it is not street legal. That is for private property only. I see that it has come to the end of the show. It is 11 o'clock. And I can keep going. Should I keep going for a few minutes? You tell me. But, just for those who don't know, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. And this is Ask a Traffic Cop. We do the show Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. It's now 11. If you don't already follow us, please do. We like that. We like to grow our audience, our base, our it feels weird to say peeps. But, it's a community. And we're always talking. So thanks for spending time with us. Let me see if I can find some real good zingy questions. Yeah, let's see what we got. Maybe there's a couple of good ones. We can keep going for a few more minutes. What is the difference between OPP, RCMP, and municipal police? This is a real quick answer. They're all police. The difference is one is federal and has jurisdiction across the entire country. They remain police officers. Our OPP is provincial police, and they only have police power within the province of Ontario, as do municipal police. We just happen to be focused on Toronto. So we were all sworn. We went to the same police college, OPP and municipal police, that is. And the difference is they can operate within the entire province because that is their purview. And we still are police officers, whether on duty or off, anywhere in the province of Ontario, but we focus our efforts within the community and boundaries of where we work. We're very often working together on multi-jurisdiction projects. So with Toronto Police team up with the OPP all the time. So we're all cops. Have I ever had to fire rounds in a call? I have never had to discharge my firearm on a call, no. And I'm thankful for that. What is this? I'm going to mute this individual. Let's see here. Someone wants to know how long I've been on the force. I've been a police officer for 10 years, but I've been with the Toronto Police as a court officer, special constable, and auxiliary officer. My total time with the service employed is now 22 years. Tickets for rolling coal, yes, that's bypassing your emissions. Making noise of car horn annoy me. Can I complain? Queen wants to know. So honking horns, because they're honking horns for a reason, is not illegal. If someone honks a horn repeatedly to mess with you or to just make noise for no reason, yeah, you can certainly make a complaint. Is proof required for online tag registration? What kind of proof? You need to provide your information and verify identity, and then they will ask you to get some information so they can verify who you are. So there is proof of identity, and then you can renew. And if you owe any money, they'll ask you to pay for it, and that's it. Chase adds that rolling coal is an unnecessary smoke charge. Interesting. Arrest a particular leader of a particular party. Interesting. How fast over the speed limit before you make a stop? It really depends on the individual situation, what the speed limit is there. For me, I'll tell you that I used to lay charges of 15 over and a 60 all the time. I would lay charges for 10 over on lower speed zones all the time because that's speeding. And anything over the speed limit is speeding. In fact, 15 over and a 60 is 25% over the posted limit. How fast does someone have to go before we pull them over? I think that 25% is a very good charge. I think that 5 over might be unreasonable, but 10 over, why not? Why not? What is the excuse to put lives at risk, to increase the odds of collision? What's the excuse for 10 over? Let's see here. Maybe he says more about the speed limits are outdated. No, you know what? Speed limits we're reducing them. They're outdated because they're too fast. We're taking 50s and making them 40s, 40s making them 30s, because when pedestrians get hit, they get killed. We just had our first traffic fatality of the year. It was a 15-year-old male who was hit by a vehicle who was turning. I guarantee you they weren't doing the speed limit because they were turning. They were going slowly, or slowly is slower than full speed. I don't know the speed, actually. It's being investigated. But what I'm getting at is you don't have to be going fast to hit someone. And when you hit someone going the speed limit, you kill them. At least the higher chances of it. Okay. Is it illegal to eat a banana while driving? No, it's not illegal. Unless that banana situation is interfering with your ability to safely operate the vehicle, at which point it could. Any tips on writing a cover letter for a constable? To become a constable, my suggestion would be contact tps.ca/careers, or at least go to the website, get in contact with a recruiter because they'll help you. They'll give you some good advice. Can you have a car towed without the landlord? If it's on private property and you are the representative of the property, if you're the person residing there, you know what? Check with parking. I think you can, but I'm not a parking guru. And my parking guru, Erin, is not here. Maybe they're on vacation. I haven't seen her. Okay. Santa Claus wants to know, is it true if I have a handicap or accessible sticker, can I park free? If you have a permit, you can park in Green P legal spots for free. You have to abide by any no stopping zone, no stopping, no standing, but you can park in a no parking zone, and you can park in a paid parking, green P street parking for free. That's it. A lot of people don't know about that. Police call me for witness. Can I refuse? The court can actually compel you to attend. They will subpoena you, and when you don't, if you're a material witness, you don't show up, they can subpoena you. At which point, yeah, bad things happen. You can't just say no. What is this? I think we're at the end. There's a bunch of questions, but I gotta do other stuff. I'm a Jamaican cop looking for a job. Send me how. Durant wants to know. www.tps.ca/careers. Check it out. We are hiring. We are actively hiring. I think 3 classes a year for the foreseeable future. So if you are coming with previous experience, that might really help you. And can you become a police officer if you wear a hearing aid? There are minimum vision and hearing requirements. That's all available on the website. But it's a good question, and I don't have an answer for you. Let's see here. I'll try to pick one more. Should I keep my expired license with my temporary me? So if you get a temporary and they put a sticker on it that says a photo ID only, then you can keep it with you. And then it's a good idea because that green temporary is really, it doesn't help identify you. The photo really helps. But I don't know what they suggest anymore. I said that was the last one, but now I'm looking for one more. Can you park on the street overnight after hours? There's a 3-hour bylaw in the city of Toronto for parking, so you can be charged unless you have a permit. There are permit streets, but 3 hours otherwise, so don't park on the street for more than 3 hours without a permit. And that is the show. I'm going to play that song that I love so much. It's called the traffic song, the TPS traffic song. It was written and performed by a police officer here at Traffic Services, a very talented individual who helped me out by making this song.
Yellow light, red light, green light,
Ciao.
go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
And we'll be back tomorrow for Friday. It's Friday already? Oh, my God. It goes so fast. Let me try that again.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get freed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I just love that song. Anyway, we're out of here. See you tomorrow at 10 for Friday.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.